Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Monday afternoon meeting of the Halifax Board of Selectmen during our COVID period. We dispensed with most of the formalities, and we will probably just move on to our usual type of business, starting with any kind of COVID updates we have from Board of Health, Fire Department, and the Police Department. We'll start with Board of Health, because that's always the most fun.
We did have one positive case over the weekend. And I do have one that should be pending. I just haven't got the results yet. And then I got a notice from our VNA, which is the...
I was nervous when you pointed at me. I was thinking there's something I didn't know.
The notice I gave to on the table here, because apparently... You mind reading it off?
Sure. This is from Meg Payne, Public Health and Wellness Operations Manager. Hi y'all, I'm wondering if we can ask the schools to send out, if they haven't already, send out a notice, if they haven't already, emphasizing if anyone is pending test results, they need to stay home. We had a case this weekend who went to school while awaiting test results, and we had to quarantine almost 50 people. Thank you so much for your hard work. So I took Bob's email, scanned it, and sent it to Kane and Jill and asked them to send out a reminder through Parent Square.
Some of it seems common sense, but
Yeah.
I guess common sense isn't very common. Is that what the problem is?
Not always. I mean, there was I think it was Attleboro where the student was actually sent to school by their parents who knew that the student was positive. So, you just have to wonder what some people are thinking.
So is the process now when you get an address that the health nurse is contacting the school?
Well, that's what we experimented with over the weekend. Okay.
That doesn't sound encouraging.
Again, we were positive where that flow of information was starting from or coming from. So to err in caution, I just took the bull by the horns and made the call myself, okay?
Okay.
So if I get it, the information, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I'll fire it up to the schools.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Anything else, Bob?
Just, I just started researching now because I was talking to Scott. The privacy screens are really flimsy, and one's really tall and hard to maneuver. So I'll probably try to order a couple of those. I would think that would fit easily under a COVID expenditure.
It would seem like they would.
It might, but we're using them they were used for the flu clinic, with the idea that we may need them in the future for single vaccination.
Emergency dispense sites.
So the short answer is yeah, it should. What I'm seeing, at least from the state, for the other 300 some odd communities, is preparation for vaccination programs and such. Yes, but given that we're not getting a lot of information from Plymouth County, I wouldn't order anything right now. I mean, we'd have to order it, get an invoice, and pay for it within the next 10 days, or 9 days now. So, I think the best thing would be, I have a 2 o'clock with Plymouth County, and we'll see what they're saying about future expenditures.
Do you have any idea what the cost would be, Bob?
No, I didn't get that far. I didn't even know that they were broken until Scott fired me off an email. So,
Okay.
and that's what I have.
All right. Moving on. Chief Viveros.
Nothing good.
No news is good news.
Nothing on my name.
Oh, ditto. Excellent.
May I
All
ask
right.
the chief a question?
Sure.
How did parent pickup drop-off go for this next batch?
Perfect. Actually, I think it went better than the first cohort. Exciting, I think it seemed like less kids in this portion, a lot more younger kids, not kindergartners, but it went well. We had the officer there, and again, same amount of buses. There's one guy I noticed was plus 20.
Okay,
The last bus that shows up was full. I didn't count, But comparing it to the other buses, when you have 5, 6 kids come on the bus 20 was a lot of kids.
Okay.
But other than that, no problem.
All right.
See, I'll pick up the books today.
Susan is here for code.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, but
So, I just wanted to meet with you guys to talk about, the weather stuff and changing the seniors, have said that they want to be inside. And I've made a lot of decisions, but I don't feel comfortable making that decision. I was fine with the outdoor.
So I think what you're asking is whether the board would give the okay or say probably let's be cautious and not engage in indoor activities either at Hope's Tavern or, for instance, using the Great Hall, which is probably the only other available and suitable space even for small scale activities.
Yeah, the only option would really be for me to use this because I just don't have the room in the building anyways. So I did talk to Bob this morning.
And the surrounding towns, many never even did the outdoor activities. And all the rest of except for Pembroke, have no activities. I think, especially with what could happen for a second wave, it would be better or safer if we didn't allow outdoor activities. We have a very, very high risk group.
yeah.
And we're just putting them in harm's way.
Even if you were to use this hall, you're still only talking a maximum of 11 people, including whoever's directing, and that really probably wouldn't take care of it anyway.
And they'd have to have masks on at that
Right.
point too. So,
Knowing the configuration of the facility we're talking about, there's no way you could do,
There's no room there.
yeah,
No room there.
yeah. that-
Poor ventilation, rooms.
We could always change direction later. It's always hard to roll something back in,
Yeah.
as opposed to just to roll it out and be safer.
Well,
So
I think in the next month or so, we're going to have a better indication of where we're going,
so we can revisit it.
that we can take another look at it, yeah. But I think for the time being, I think you're right. I think it would be
Yeah.
a bad move to expand it back inside.
I agree.
Do you need any kind of a motion from the board? Or you're the director, I don't think.
Susan would like something definitive from the board because then she can say, look, I talked with the board, then this is specifically what the board said.
Perhaps we could have a motion to support the director's decision about,
I'll move it.
I'll second. Do you still want to do outside activities when the weather's okay?
As long as we can. You know what, I feel comfortable with the outdoor, I felt comfortable with the way we've been doing it, but bringing it in is a whole nother.
you'll still have weather for a few more weeks anyway. And in the daytime, with the sun shining, it'd still be decent enough. I mean, this morning and yesterday were pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, are you getting sides?
Those days accepted.
Are you getting the siding for the tent?
So that's what I heard,
Yeah, Scott was giving the okay for that.
sides and a heater,
Yeah.
from what I heard, but I don't know about that ETA of that.
Yeah, with some sides and a heater, you could probably extend that out a while. I think certainly long enough to get a gauge on where we're going with this thing. I think we have a motion in a second, so we need a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks, Sue. Appreciate it.
And
Next would be, Steve, you have something you want to bring to
I've
us?
had a clarification question.
Okay.
If an employee's family member has COVID, do they have to get retested before they can come back to work?
Sorry.
Either they're going to have to get tested and be negative, or they're going to have to wait out the quarantine period.
Right.
The assumption is that if they don't have symptoms by the end of the quarantine period, that they're not infectious. But they, Bob, am I off?
Yep. No, that's exactly it. Spot on.
It was just just wanted to get a clarification on, there's other family members in the family, and if one of those people come down with it, now does that quarantine the whole family again for another?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and I
Unless they
don't,
lived in different households.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, and I don't know the physical circumstances, obviously, but there's isolation and there's quarantine. The person who's positive, or the people who are positive, and like I said, it's not doable for everybody, but they basically need to stay in their room.
right.
They need to isolate in one room. They obviously, there's 2 bathrooms, you try and separate the bathrooms as well as you can, but they don't go down the kitchen, they don't hang around watching TV with everybody. They're stuck. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah,
But
no, I
they don't-
understand that part of it. That's
Well,
part of-
I don't know if everybody understands that.
Yeah.
And I know that it is extremely difficult to do that in the sense of, without knowing all the cases that we've had in Halifax, my understanding is that, well, we've seen on a number of occasions, I'm sure this is worldwide, once one person in the household has it, the degree of being able to prevent transmission to somebody else goes up astronomically. So it is very difficult. But the people involved in that household have to make every effort to have that person isolate and then have the rest of the people in that household quarantine. So think of it as a shell. There's one shell around that one person. There's another shell around the household. And then there are people who are helping that household. So if they need additional food or something like that, they get help from the outside and get that food in. If the person is in isolation, use paper plates or, utensils or whatever, they bring, they put the food there by the door, they bring the food in, the person eats the food, they get a garbage bag and put everything in the garbage bag. People get gloves, so there's less possible transmission and such. It's not easy, it's not fun, but in order to prevent the transmission within the household and to not lengthen the possibility of quarantine for the additional people in isolation, that's what people have to do.
Right, but my whole thing is when they come back.
So
So we're
it's,
just taking the word of the person that they did
Well-
isolation and they're saying,
well, we'll take it in 2 pieces. If there's a Halifax household, Bob will get that information, and we go by that.
right,
And, we'll work with Bob on those addresses, and if we're aware that it might involve a Halifax employee, we make sure that Bob's aware of that. The challenge is when it's an outside, a non-Halifax household where this is happening, but it involves a Halifax employee, taking it on that person's good faith that they're not coming back to work instead of quarantine. Now, mind you, we specifically said in the policies that the Board of Selectmen approved, someone who does that, who breaks quarantine to come back to work, can be disciplined. We're talking about public health, but they're in essence saying is, it's more important for me to come back to work than in fact to be caring about my fellow employees. And we're saying, no, you need to be thinking not of yourself first, but of your fellow employees first, and stay there.
All right. I just want to make sure that's what it was.
Tom?
Yep.
It shouldn't be a question of pay either, because if they're out under quarantine, they should be getting the FFCRA, which should pay them for 2 weeks. So it shouldn't be a financial stress on them to stay out on the quarantine.
If they had used it already.
In which case, they can still use vacation, personal leave, sick leave.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why you save your sick leave. We have employees that for whatever reason, they insist, oh, I got a sick day available, I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Well, and then comes the emergency and suddenly they don't have any leave available.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure if this, I'm still new to the town, but I saw a report that said sick bank. So if somebody had exhausted COVID and had exhausted
Yes.
their own pay,
Yes.
they could go seeking this.
But if you're eligible for this thing, first of all, it's only eligible for non-union employees, unions don't have one.
Okay.
So I don't know, what employee A might be an eligible, employee B might not be. And the other thing is that the employee needs to have participated, they need to
Yeah, it's
have
voluntary.
sick days into the sick leave bank. If they made a decision they don't want to participate in the sick leave bank, then they're not eligible.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know how it works, so. Now I do.
Anything else, Steve?
No, that was it. I have something unrelated to COVID, if we, so.
Sure.
Well, just to let the board know that, next week I'll probably get a request from, Officer Andrew Lazinski for a lateral transfer. So I should be getting the paperwork this Friday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Monday, they'll come in, you know.
Yeah, I put on the agenda on
Yeah.
Monday already, I posted it.
No, sorry to hear that.
I'm gonna have to amend the agenda anyway sometimes, but at least
Yeah.
the Monday agenda is posted, it's on the agenda for Monday, so it's working.
Right.
So a lateral transfer is when they move to a different department?
From one civil service department, to another civil service department,
Okay. So, do we have to,
He needs to call a list, one of the part-time lists that you already asked. for.
yeah. I called for the part-time list, that should be, they're gonna call on the 25th, and then the applicants should be coming in on the 28th to see Pam. And then we have to call for, I gotta check with civil service to see if I can go off that list, or if I have to call for a full-time list.
Yeah, I mean, do we have, how many permanent inmates do we have right now?
On the, in Halifax, one, and she's not taking it, Jenna Keegan, she won't. So it's,
Yeah, basically by calling the full-time list, you're calling the same list.
yeah, basically, yes.
so you have full-time, you have permanent intermittent, and then you have specials.
Specials.
The part-time intermittents, reserve intermittents have civil service standing.
Okay.
So if we had vacancies, you would take from that list, not because the specials are just totally,
Okay.
not even eligible for anything like that. They have to get the status of reserve intermittent to be eligible for a full-time position.
Is the academy for permanent intermittent different than the full-time academy?
Yes, one thing about it, this year, it's actually gonna cost more money for somebody to go to a reserve intermittent academy because of the COVID, because they have to limit the number of students from 50 to 25. So the tuition is up to $4,000 for half of, not even more than half of the time spent in the academy. And full-time academy, it's still the same. I think it's 30. I think it's $2,500 or $3,000, and that's for a full, 6 months of the academy.
Do we pay when
We
there's,
used to pay for reserve intermittents, but as of 2018, I said, it makes no sense. It doesn't. Well, what's happening is you're paying them like $3,000 to go, so they get a job, basically, to go to the academy, get the reserve intermittent, and then come back, and then jump and go somewhere else.
Right.
So, and I checked with other departments, I'm like, no, absolutely we don't pay, because it's basically, shows kind of a commitment that I want to get to that reserve intermittent spot, so I'll pay my own way. Most of the people have jobs, full-time jobs at the academy, it's in the evenings and then on Saturdays.
okay,
So,
so that's different than the full-time academy, because that's a
yeah, full-time
full-time.
academy, you basically can't have another job, you're there from Monday through Friday. And, that's it.
And what
We
hap-
pay for that.
and what happens is that we'll pay for it, but then we'll have a series of deductions for everyone, it's like 18 months, 20.
Yeah, $1,000 for,
Yeah.
until they
And
pay.
so, and then at the end of, I think it's the time that they've been paying us, we then give them a refund check, because in essence, they served their time.
It's a way so we don't pay for them to go to class and then jump ship to go
Right.
someplace. So.
I mean, they can still jump ship after that, but at least we've done some time out of it. Chief, what I'll do is I'll put a note in for Monday also, in case by that point you're ready to ask for the full-time list also. I'll put that on the agenda.
Have it covered.
Yeah.
Anything else? We want to talk about town meeting?
Town meeting?
Joy, did you?
No, I'm good.
So town meeting, we have tomorrow night, 7:30, we're starting here at 6. Sort of our normal night meetings, but we're just starting at 6 instead of 6:30 or something. Not a lot on the agenda, we'll go back over, we'll have Dennis Carmen in to talk about the meeting, and finish early. We've got 2 appointments, and then get to town meeting. East-West will be there, we're using both rooms. School personnel, Scott, and everybody, and East-West have all been in contact with each other along with Dick Steele, so.
I'm hopeful that we'll need the extra room.
Sorry?
I'm hopeful that we'll need the extra room.
I'm just hopeful if we can get it done. Recycling abatements, Pam's moving those to tomorrow. Traffic Safety Committee met early this morning. The consensus was not to recommend a change in the speed limit. The chiefs felt that, and along with Steve, felt that 35 is the proper speed limit for the section between BRs and 106, aside from that little bit just before the intersection. I think it goes down to 25. And then on the engine brakes, not to have a change in the not an initial bylaw, they felt that the town would have a liability because if the town approved it, even with a provision that said you could use it under emergency, that you would have drivers decide, well, I'm not even going to do that because I don't see a sign that says I can use it during an emergency. So the consensus was not to recommend any sort of bylaw change.
And there's only so many things you can put on a sign that anyone's going to read.
They did recommend going to OCPC to get traffic counts for the intersections on Hillside, to look at the possibility of putting stop signs up at those intersections. And just to reiterate, Steve's going to be asking for enough money for 4 crosswalk devices rather than 5 as the price has gone up. And then post-tower roof project update. We've started a new round of bidding. There's a site visit next Tuesday. It's going to be due 16 days from now. I think 17 days from now. So 2.5 weeks, Thursday the 9th, I think, maybe something like that. So 2 weeks from this Thursday. And that's what I have.
Anybody has anything else? No? I think that does it. Have a motion to adjourn?
If I hear anything, if I hear anything from Plymouth, I'll get it to everybody sooner rather than later.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.